granniopteryx, granniopteryx. She knows the truth, she's linking every link.
Hello, and the question is, what's more dangerous, the social services or a crocodile pit? And that's a perfectly reasonable question in the circumstances. Some days ago, social services took a man, a male who was obviously in a bad mental state. According to the news reports I've read, both mentally impaired and mentally ill. And they decided to take him unrestrained to a zoo. Well, the inevitable happened. He did damage. In this case, he injured a child, and how he did that, he picked up the child and threw that 3-year-old toddler into a crocodile pit. The child wasn't attacked by the crocodiles because what is described as the wife of the owner of the zoo, I'd say she was probably a partner in that venture, but that's how they described it. She jumped into the pit straight away and hauled the kid out, and then was helped out herself, fortunately with no injuries from the crocodiles. However, the child did suffer the sort of injuries you would expect from being a 3-year-old and being thrown by a man with some force into a lower area. Irrespective of the crocodiles, that child is very ill now. I wish him well. I hope he recovers. But certainly this is going to leave him with some long-term injuries, I'm quite sure. And that was because these social service people decided that they were going to take this complete nutter out for a day out in a zoo. A zoo is a dangerous place at the best of times. I'm not suggesting there shouldn't be zoos. There should be, but not for people who are not mentally stable, for sure. He just broke away from them. And there was nothing, apparently, that they could do. It wouldn't surprise me if he wasn't 6 foot tall and the 2 social workers were like 5'2" women, but I don't know. I also don't know the name of the man or his ethnicity or his religion. He's described as a Norfolk man. Now, believe me, if that were a white man, his name, his address, his parents, his grandchildren, whatever, they'd all be there in the papers. But from the secrecy surrounding this person, I will assume that he is of some sort of ethnic minority. And being a Norfolk man, I doubt it. I could be wrong, of course. I'm not saying that I am 100% right, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if we discovered that this Norfolk man turned out to be not exactly from Norfolk and just happened to be there. Right, well, that was this story. But let's just get into the heroism of the zoo owner's wife, as they put it. The co-owner of the zoo, without a doubt. She jumped into a pit full of crocodiles and hauled out the child and saved his life, probably. And it reminded me of a story that happened a few years ago, about 20 years ago, according to The Guardian here, 20 years ago in Australia, where there was a group of campers on a beach in northern Queensland, and people were sleeping. And then this man woke up to feel something round his ankle, and he was being pulled out of his tent. And he looked down, and there was this, I've seen it described as a 14-foot crocodile. The Guardian has it at 13 feet, but then they always minimise the minorities, don't they? His ankle, his foot was being grabbed. The way a crocodile dispatches its victims is by dragging whatever it is to the water and drowning it, and then it's easier to make lunch of, I suppose. Anyway, the man's wife was trying to pull him back, but of course 14, 13-foot crocodile, the wife of that man was no match. And the shouts that were coming out of that particular tent woke up a lady in her 60s who heard the commotion, ran out, saw what the situation was, and then jumped onto the back of the crocodile, beating it with something, an object, as far as I've read. It would have been nice if she were beating it with a crocodile skin handbag, but I don't know what she was beating it with. The crocodile turned on her, but fortunately the son-in-law of this woman, who was in a nearby tent, also heard the commotion, and he was armed. He came out, found his mother-in-law. No, this is the beginning of a rather amusing episode, really, isn't it, in many ways. Found his mother-in-law beating up a crocodile and shot the crocodile. And when I heard that story, it occurred to me that, there's this running joke, that nice show Bewitched from the 70s, what was it, or the 80s? Anyway, whatever it was, which had... it was a running joke. The feud between the Samantha's mother and Darren, her Samantha's husband. And it just played on that old mother-in-law joke that Les Dawson made much of as well, didn't he? And it occurred to me that son-in-law really would have a problem after that, because although a son-in-law might not feel particularly well disposed towards his mother-in-law, thinking that she's a vicious old witch, actually finding a mother-in-law who is prepared to wrestle a crocodile would probably give that poor fellow pause for thought whenever there was a difference of opinion between them later on. I'm sure that must have helped that lady win many an argument thereafter. Anyway, that's the story. And in both cases, females of a certain age turned out to be the sort of people who would face down a crocodile to rescue a fellow human being. And that makes me very proud. OK, well, yeah, to return to the social services, I made another video, by the way, about what the social services did with another child who turned out to be, they put him for adoption with two people who turned out not to be particularly good parents, to say the least. And that video has been held in YouTube purgatory until they've decided whether it's suitable for public consumption or not. Unfortunately, I had to describe at least some of what had gone on. So I'm putting this video out instead of that, and the other one will come up later, I hope, when YouTube has had a, what do they call it, an extended review of it. OK, well, that's the crocodile story of the week. Till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.